Hello, welcome to another Non-Finito BG painting tutorial. Today we are painting the Gold Smoke Knight from Kingdom Death Monster. Here I'm just applying some yellow ochre. It's actually a deep yellow ochre from Michael Harding's paint line. Really like this one because it almost looks metallic. Put this on very thin because I kind of like that texture, that granule texture from my zenithal highlight. Thank you. If you've seen my previous videos, I talk about why I use the airbrush and compressor combination that I use, because at the end of the day it's actually not a very good one, but that actually lends to the effect of getting this almost film grain look on my the texture on my miniature. Now I'm adding some warm white to the flames on the base, just so when I go back I have a nice bright foundation to start coloring the flame effects. Also adding it to all the areas that the flames are going to be lighting up as well. Adding that warm white to the flames coming out from the knees. Also going to hit those elbows. And then the flames coming out on the top of the armor around the neck area. Just so I can get to those yellows that I eventually want to get to. There we go. It's a good foundation. I like where it is so far. Here I'm just a wash of burnt umber. That's all this is. Whenever I apply these washes, you notice that brush is beat up, and it's one of my favorite brushes. I don't own any really expensive brushes. I can't be trusted. If I use expensive brushes, the way I treat my brushes, it's basically throwing money away. You know, if you could take care of your brushes, get the expensive brushes, because you will enjoy using those brushes. But with some cheap brushes you find at Michael's, that day one you use that brush is the quality you'll get with an expensive brush, but for a longer period of time, if you take care of them. Now I'm just starting to add some of those yellows and oranges. Just going up to like the halfway point on all the flames, because I'm gonna start blending into much darker reds, or even all the way up to a black, where the tips are gonna be turning to smoke and not flame. This is just with a clean dry brush. I'm just feathering out that effect up into the tops of those flames. Just smoothing it out. Alright, here, this is where I add that scarlet red. And I try to randomize it. I don't want there to be a solid line where it goes from yellow to red, or even like a perfectly blended line. But like mix it in, you know, like a little higher and a little lower, you know, add that red. Like you see on the left where that flame kind of jolts out. Well, right next to that, everything is yellow, but right there it's red, right? Because it's that particular part of that flame is kind of going rogue. You want to add variety to the flames. That way it doesn't look like, I don't know, like a cartoon character. Again, with the brush, I just start blending in that red with that yellow, mainly in places where I kind of want to start getting variations with the orange, and also filling in all those little spots that are still white. Alright, now I'm just adding like a dark wash to all the recesses and little nooks and crannies of the armor. This is just a lamp black wash. Just add it all into the crevices just so I could get some more dimension in the miniature's armor thus far. There we go, just adding a little bit of highlights. I play back and forth with adding contrast with my darks and then boosting up some highlights. Not going ever completely white, but just going a little darker, then a little lighter, a little darker, and a little lighter. You'll see me do that throughout this video. Jump back and forth till I get it to a place I'm happy with. Just hitting all the raised areas with like a deep yellow and warm white mixture. And then here hitting it with some more deep yellow. I realized like once the yellow ochre started drying, it starts to fade. Over time, your paint will fade. I noticed that with a lot of my miniatures I painted with strictly just Winsor Newton cheap paints that's sitting on the shelf, that the paint before, like if I never varnished them, starts to fade out a little bit. They start to look a little gray. I don't really seem to have that problem ever since I added Michael Harding's paint lines into my workflow. They don't seem to fade. They actually advertise that they're fade resistant, and that's been true so far, so can't recommend them enough. Right here I'm just adding some darker, darker values to those flames. Now you see on the top, I just took some red, mixed in a little bit of lamp black, just get that smoking effect. And again, a little random with the with these dark tones on the flames. I don't want to just sort of stick to the tips. But obviously, as flames reach further and further away from the source of the heat, right, it is going to get darker and darker because it's getting lower and lower in temperature and dissipating into the flames. But if you just add a little variation here and there where you put those darker areas, it'll make it seem a lot more realistic. You see, I'm very rough with my brushes. I push up against the bristles. Main reason why I don't buy expensive brushes. I don't think I can stop that habit when I buy a $30 brush, you know. And so is it really worth it to me, or just buy a mega pack at Michael's of like 30 brushes for $10 and throw them away as I ruin them? I don't know, maybe one day I'll get a Kolinsky or something like that, or a Sable. Right now, these brushes work just fine for me. Alright, now moving over to the weapon. This is just some burnt umber for the staff. I'm just gonna wash burnt umber over the whole thing because I want it to be a little darker than the armor of the Gold Smoke Knight, right? Little variation. So this is going to be a little darker. It's still going to look gold, but much darker gold. Almost like a bronze versus a gold. And here I'm just adding some highlights to the raised areas now over that wash. Now I'm just adding some darker washes in the recesses of the armor now. Not all the way black, but mostly like burnt umber washes. Just add variation into the armor. Because the light from the flame is hitting these armor, right? So I want to kind of start taking areas that the flames would be reflecting off of the armor into more like orange tones. So this is after I went over the whole miniature with those orangish tones and kind of getting that variation. I'm happy where it is so far. Alright, this is a little trick to be able to feather out little corners like that. I just add a wash into the tip of the brush, put it in the corner, and then I take a dry brush and I just start stippling it out. You notice that. I leave it in that recess though. I don't mess with the recess. I want that to be as dark as possible. So I don't go in there with the bristles all the way into that corner, but I go to the very edge where I had applied it and start pulling it away. Nice and easy. That's how you get a really good gradation. Alright. Just adding some edge highlights to areas of the armor. I don't like to go too crazy with these though. Start bringing up that contrast. There, that's where I messed up. Alright, but it's not the end of the world. I can actually push that back into a straight line down the shin. Right, so it's not the end of the world. I go to the edge of where it's going into where I don't want it to go, and I just slowly start blending it back in the direction I want it to go. Adding some more highlights on the belly is going to give it a little bit more dimension. And I put that highlight right next to that darker shadow to sell that non-metallic. And you can see what that does to the effect of making it look like a metallic metal. Putting a highlight right next to a shadow. Alright, just adding some of those reflective flame colors onto the base. Again, that OSL effect. And the basing is just as important of telling a story as the miniature is. And I feel like this base that this miniature comes on is so well sculpted. Yeah, just adding some contrast. I'll finish this up, but this project is coming to a close. I hope you enjoyed this painting of the Gold Smoke Knight from Kingdom Death Monster. If you did, please consider like, subscribe, follow, and yeah, thank you for watching.